I'm Jeff Altman, the Big Game Hunter. I'm a coach who helps people professionally in a number of different ways. And someone wrote saying, in the past months, I've been applying for jobs like crazy without any luck. Desperately, I even applied to jobs that I'm overqualified for just to have an income and still no luck. I'm going to pause here for a second and say, that's not a guarantee depending upon your field, because then they become afraid that you're going to leave when something better comes along. I digress. I started to suspect that my foreign name, which is Slavic, may not be helping me. As an experiment, I made an identical CV to mine, but all I did was change my name to something like John Smith and applied again to the same jobs. Guess what? 80% response rate. I'm really disgusted by the recruiters and employers, and rightly so. So, I'm a former recruiter, and I want to admit that there were times where I would see a foreign long name that was unpronounceable to me. And when I was much, much younger than I am today, look at this face. Do I look young? I made that same kind of judgment. And then I realized how stupid and bigoted it was. I started to make the phone calls. And obviously there were people who did not speak well, but I found a lot that did. And that became the issue. The interpretation that someone with a name that was not familiar to me or I couldn't pronounce readily might have poor oral communications. So that's the shorthand that people have, because they've dealt with people who've come to the U.S. and don't speak well. There's an easy workaround. Now, there are a couple that I've seen suggested. So, for example, women sometimes will use a first initial and a last name. And they've found that sometimes an E. Jacobs doesn't let people know that it's Emily. They think it might be Eric, and thus they get over some of the gender bias. I've seen on resumes that a person who might be Asian might change from a Asian first name to something more American. The classic examples I've seen from women include Wendy, where the first initial, when pronounced in the original language, might also be a W, but they've Anglicanized it. Many people report this as an issue, and I know when we adopted our son, who was born in Central Asia, his given name was local to his country, and we decided to make that his middle name and give him an American name first, because the bias does exist. So here I'm just going to quickly transition to those of you who are in HR and recruiting, and just simply say you're missing an opportunity by making assumptions about people. And as such, I want to really discourage you from doing that. And for those of you who are the victims of this, one of the other workarounds that's pretty easy to do is to say in a comments area or in a summary area, perfectly spoken, fill in the blank, or well spoken, if it's not quite perfect, fill in the blank. So that in this way, they know that your oral communications are good, and they can be less fearful, because that's really the issue. Many organizations want to have someone who's well-spoken, and so often they're afraid that when they're calling someone from with a name that they struggle with or that's not familiar to them, they're going to be talking to someone that they're not going to be able to understand. I wish it were different. I own up to my own stuff with that, and I'm glad I corrected many, many years ago. Hope you found this helpful. I'm Jeff Altman. My website is thebiggamehunter.us. Go there and go exploring. There'll be a lot there to help you. In addition, if you're interested in one-on-one coaching during any element of your job search, you can reach out to me through the site and schedule time for a free discovery call to check me out, or to schedule time for coaching, for which I'll obviously charge you for. I'd love to help you. Also, subscribe to my channel on YouTube by clicking the small icon in the lower right or the picture of me in the upper left. You'll get notices whenever I release something new, which is pretty much daily at this point. Hope you have a terrific day and be great. Take care.